All right, welcome everybody to another Tsorenity Now podcast. This is our series with children and family. As we said before, is that Tsorenity, we focus on leadership. We're not looking at leadership just in organizations or business or in companies, but also leadership in the home. So today we have our guests here, Josh and Logan. Maybe you guys can introduce yourself real quick.
I'm Logan Malmovic, Josh's son. I'm 18 years old, and
and a golfer.
Just graduated high school, going into college.
There you go. I'm Josh Malmovic, sales with the SOAR Group, as you've seen me on other podcasts before. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of delve into leadership at home, and I think it's important.
Yeah, previously we, in the family series, we had Ryan, his daughter Sophie, and we talked about how gymnastics and dance has helped her in terms of coordination and balance and just, things in life. Now, what's different is Logan, maybe you can explain your sport and when you got into it and maybe what you're doing about it now.
Well, I started golf when I was about 2 years old.
2 years old.
So that's like 16 years ago now. But the thing is that I started when I was 2, and I didn't get really into it until we moved to Arizona. When we were in Washington, we couldn't play really as much as we wanted because it was raining all the time. So it was very difficult to play. But now that we're in Arizona, we can play whenever because it's
when did you move to Arizona?
About 3 years ago now.
Okay, so you really started getting to 3 years ago, but you were playing golf the majority of your life, basically still. But you weren't really into it until...
Well, I was into it. I loved playing golf, but we couldn't.
Yeah, the level of commitment that could not be there's Logan played on he's underselling it a little bit because he was on his golf team as a freshman. He was on the varsity squad.
Wow.
He lettered his freshman year of Lake Stevens, and so he's selling a little bit short. But the fact remains is it was basically like immersion therapy once we moved to Arizona, right? Like you're surrounded by it at all times, and you have the ability to do it all the time.
Yeah.
And so it became more of a focus, and it was a huge, uptick in his ability just because of the fact that we were able to be around it more.
Yeah, I might have been underselling. It wasn't that we weren't playing golf. It was that we couldn't as much. And now that it feels like it was way less.
Yeah, because it's uncommon for a freshman to be on the varsity team.
Yeah.
Right. Any sport. So
Correct.
Okay, so don't undersell yourself. You let people really understand what you're going through, your skill level is at.
It was a huge difference going from Washington, raining basically every day, to Arizona where it's sunny every day, where you can play golf whenever you want.
Right, so you enjoyed it better because of the weather as well.
Okay. We play probably double the time now.
Yeah.
Or more.
Right.
Yeah.
So Josh, talk me through this. 2 years old to enroll Logan in golf. That seems a little bit young for most parents. So what was your thinking behind that?
Well, the crazy thing is I started golfing when I was 21.
Okay.
Right.
So, and you're an avid golfer yourself.
Yeah. Well, now, right. But the thing is, I was really into it, and Logan came along when I was 29. Just about 29. So I'd only been doing it for about 8 years. But the thing is kids kind of pick on what you're doing. Even my daughter, she'd sit there and hit the ball and stuff like that or whatever, but she didn't have really the passion for it. But I mean, if you're doing stuff with your kids or you're doing something that you love to do, you kind of want to have your kids involved. Mm-hmm. And so that's basically what it was. It wasn't like he was going to lessons or he wasn't, on a nutrition and exercise program. It was just get him some clubs, goof around, take him and hit balls around. We chip balls around the house or that kind of thing. And then it progressed to, going to short courses and obviously him not being able to hit the ball as far as he needs to or whatever, but just keeping that that love for it to go because as well as any other sport, I think it takes a certain amount of discipline.
Right. And
so I think that's good for your brain to, have that discipline.
Were you thinking that when you enrolled in golf, this is going to be good discipline, this is going to be good golf, or were you thinking, hey, there's an interest and it's allowed my son to join me?
Well, I mean, obviously there's a selfish part where you're just oh yeah, my son's here. This is great. This is a great excuse. And now, mom won't say no to me going golfing because, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get that now.
And so that part of it's there. But at the same time, yeah, you have to think about that. It's okay, sports is very important, and especially with leadership, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a hierarchy, there's a coach, there's whatever. And in golf, it's, a very disciplined sport because it's all about you.
It's not like a sport.
Yeah, it's not like where you're, you have a whole team to depend on. You know, your team's in between your ears, and
If you
so,
play bad, you're
It's
bad.
on
You have nobody to blame but yourself.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
And so, hey, if he likes it and he wants to go down that path, then I'm going to support it fully. Now, that being said, you know, in retrospect, looking back, even though he's going to be playing college golf, you know, for a junior college, and you know, hopefully plays well and gets opportunity to go to a Division I school, probably should have had him play other sports.
Oh, so you're thinking if you're looking back,
Yeah.
reviewing your life, you would have
Yeah.
expanded his repertoire.
Yeah, like let him play some baseball, some football, some other things like that. And he did play basketball, like briefly,
Yeah.
and really actually loves basketball.
Very briefly. But
Yeah, but still, like the thing is like you, there's pros and cons, right, to being hyper focused.
Mm-hmm.
So hyper focused, obviously, he probably wouldn't be where he is right now if he wasn't hyper focused.
Right.
So, but I think, you know, having some variety probably would have been better. But you know, you can't change
Right.
time.
Sure.
You know, so
Go ahead.
I
Logan.
feel like more sports would expand, like have more abilities to just like even golf. Like other sports would make my golf game even better because of other sports having like coordination
Mm-hmm.
and baseball you have strength, and like really in baseball you have to just swing at it.
Right. So if you were
And
looking
having
back
that
on your
strength.
looking back at your life, you would want to have played more sports. And
Yeah,
some of
I
those
feel more
things.
sport. I always wanted to play like football, baseball, all those sports I wanted to play.
Uh-huh.
But like football was injury based. Baseball would ruin your golf swing.
yeah.
Wait, so these things you brought up to your parents, and this is what kind of came back into
Well,
Yeah.
and football is kind of scary, right? Like if
Sure.
you were to ask football players, they would say, "Yeah, I don't want my kids to play football."
Yeah,
Yeah.
concussion,
Which-
injuries. Yeah.
Nowadays I get why they said no.
But at
Yeah.
the time,
At the time I was like, damn it, I really wanted to play football.
how old were you when you asked to play football?
What, 5th grade? I think probably.
Yeah, like 5th grade, because
Yeah,
I
okay.
had friends playing like flag football and
Mhm. Yeah, and you
middle
wanted,
going into middle school football and all that stuff.
and
So
you were interested. Why were you interested in football then?
we've always been, we've watched football forever.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it was on
We watch
TV.
Alabama, University of Alabama football,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
and Seattle Seahawks. We were friends of them
Okay.
forever, and we've always watched football.
Yeah,
And football's always been a part of my life, so I've
yeah. And
wanted to play it. But
I think it's just how impressionable kids are too. Like when you're talking about golf, and we talked about in a previous episode, is that kids are going to want to do what their parents do. Parents are going to have to emulate and lead by example. Kids just you know that and that's the way the family has worked in terms of growing up. Is that when kids see somebody they respect or somebody that they want to be like, they're going to automatically want to do the things that the parent or the father figure is going to do. And so that's why it's very important for fathers to be involved in the family. Very important to lead by example. I mean, how would you describe
responsibility.
responsible? So how would you describe? Well, let me before this, Logan. What was your first or at least memory of golf?
Well, first memory probably would be playing with my grandparents, because my grandparents live at a country club, and that's
Okay.
basically where I got started, right?
Yeah. Like we
So-
officially started, you were slapping it around and doing stuff, but like
Uh-huh.
actually on a course, that's where we actually started hitting
Yeah.
balls at it and real green and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like really, I remember going to my grandparents' place in California
Okay.
in Palm Springs, and I remember starting, and I loved it, and I remember I wanted to continue playing, and then when I first got to the course, I was like, well, this is completely different than just hitting it. You gotta have to like actually focus and hit certain shots or whatever. And
Right.
at a young age, I figured out like I want to do this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, because I remember, how old was I? I can't remember. But one time we were busy one day, and Dad was like, "Oh, we're gonna go play golf or whatever later." And then when we got done, we got back to the house. I was like, "Oh, we're gonna go, right?" And Dad was like, "No,
Yeah, we ran out of
we
time,
ran
kind
out
of
of time."
thing.
I was like, I started bawling. I was crying,
Okay.
Yeah.
and
So disappointed.
Did you remember
Yeah.
that time, Josh?
Oh yeah.
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 it,
That was-
it probably didn't happen
More than once.
More
Yeah.
than once. We're-
Yeah. So I just remember
true.
that was just like not my first memory, but it was a bigger memory, because I just remember I just loved it so much that I wanted to go and play.
How old were you? You know, your earliest memory in terms of going to with your grandparents? Well, how old were you?
That was about 2 or 3, right?
So you remember about
Probably
2 or
three.
3,
Yeah,
3
probably
years old.
three.
Remember? Okay.
Oops.
Yeah, because we would go to my grandparents' country club.
Mm-hmm.
We'd go down and visit them in Palm
Yeah.
Springs once a year for spring break. So
Spring
our
break,
we'd go down.
yeah, we would do
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was about every year. I just remember going, and each year I'd get a little bit better. And
Right.
when did I start going to the course? You think
Probably 10, right?
about 10? Yeah. So for those years,
Because we did that one where the little par 3 course, we did that
yeah,
when you were like 7 or 8, I think.
Yeah.
So we did that because it wasn't at their country club because
No,
like
because it was
we
in
weren't
Washington.
good enough. So therefore, no, the one at Indio.
Oh yeah, we did the
Yeah.
one in Indio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went and played, but like on the country club course, you didn't like 10. I think was the first time you went.
Yeah. So it really, I just remember every year we would go and play a little bit, and then I just the playing it more grew more in me.
Yeah. As you got better, you actually also.
Yeah.
Which came first, then the skill or the passion?
The
Passion was way first.
What
yeah.
plays first? So
'Cause
you had
I
passion
don't-
for it, and then you played.
Personally, I don't think I was that good until we moved to Arizona.
Right.
For sure.
We got a lot better. But one thing on the leadership aspect of it,
Yeah.
and you said something like, and I think it'll be good for Logan in the future as well, and in any endeavor that he does. But making the hard decision, right? Of okay, you can't do football because of this, right? Or you can't do baseball because like, do you really want to take away from your
Yeah.
prime passion and
Yeah.
love? You know, so like defining priorities or setting expectations and like dealing with negative or positive. Like there's adverse situations you have to face yourself with, and the fact that we made a decision to do it, and even though we look back at it, it would have been kind of cool to have him do other things.
Mm-hmm.
End of the day, I mean, he's not unhappy with the fact
No.
that he
Great. Super
focused on
grateful
golf.
that I played golf.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that helps with those decision-making processes down the road. It's already instilled.
Yeah, and so I guess my question to you, Josh, is that when he wanted to do these other sports, how did you determine like what was the best decision for him? Because there are some parents who just say, "Oh, if you want to do another sport, sure, why not?" So, what was the kind of thinking? Was it, you're thinking he might be the next Tiger Woods type thing, or were you thinking like, "Okay, I know this is not very good in the future."
I mean, not the next Tiger Woods or anything like that, because that would be
'Cause
insane.
no one's gonna be the next Tiger Woods.
Right.
But I think the fact that I just saw there was something in there, like there was a spark in there, and I think that there's a real chance to do something special with it.
Okay.
That if we didn't get, and like you said, we didn't really get crazy until we got down here, but we would play every weekend or whatever. But there was just something there. It's like, why do I want to detract or take time away from his mindset of what he wants to do with golf to do something else when I know that he really, really loves this? And yeah, you might want to do it because your friends are doing it. It's kind of cool. I want to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
But, you could see there was enough there that he was motivated enough to want to get better, watching videos on YouTube, doing a bunch of stuff like that, which, I didn't even realize how much he was watching on YouTube.
He was doing this all by himself.
Yeah, he was doing it on top of it.
initiate. Okay.
Yeah.
So
and then
it was
I
a
would help
passion.
coach him, obviously, with certain things when I would see things, but it was amazing how much information he was absorbing. Yeah. And crazy.
At what age did you discover that it was more than just a hobby for him or a skill set that could be still done for something special?
I'd have to say probably right before your freshman year, probably. Like I noticed that it was like literally, like the improvements were coming along and
So we're looking at 13, 14.
Yeah,
So there's,
yeah.
there's a 5 or
About
6 year thing. Keep
Right.
going.
Yeah, and then obviously as he matured more and his strength grew and that kind of thing, you really could see it shining through. And I mean, anybody that watches him play golf right now, and I'm not being biased, but they're like, holy cow, like
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
It's it's crazy how
And
if
he
I
was-
look back, it's
Sorry to interrupt,
a big difference.
but he was also like number 1 on his team for the last 2 years down here.
Yeah.
Like he came down, got on the team right away, was number 2 on the team when he came down. They had some pompous guy that was before him,
Mm-hmm.
and he came down. The crazy thing is, and this is leadership 101. He came down, nobody knew who he was, made a difference on the team. The
Mhm.
next year when he was number 1 on the team, he took time on the range. The coach didn't know what he was doing, and that's nothing disparaging against the coach. That's not a specialty.
He was a wrestling coach.
Right.
I see.
It
But-
wasn't his number one sport.
But Logan would then take time with each of the teammates,
And
help
he
them
was
with their
coaching
swing.
them.
Yeah, help
Because
them
he
their
had the
swing.
skill
Try,
set.
get
Yeah.
your grip this way, do certain
Yeah.
things to make the team better.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that no one told him to do that.
Yeah.
He just like, well, if I'm doing this and I got this figured out, let me help other people so the team could be better.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Logan, why did you decide to do that?
Well-
you guys just said it was an individual sport. You have no way to blame, but
Yeah.
yet you're coaching other people. So what
The
was
thing-
you thinking?
The thing for me is that, like, first of all, my dad, he helps me all the time,
Okay.
like every day.
Okay. So you
Basically.
learned your dad. He
So
taught
he's
you.
teaching me, and then
Okay.
I've took those skills, and I've always liked helping people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I see something wrong, I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna tell you about it. Obviously I want to help you,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah, not in a negative way or like make fun of
No,
way, like
no.
as in like a coaching way, like to help
Yeah.
you improve.
because I saw my second year of high school, our number 1, he was supposed to be our team captain.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw him at practice. He was on his own. He was playing in other things. We'd be like, oh, where's where's this guy? And our coach would be like, oh, he's doing his own thing.
You're talking the team captain.
Yeah.
He's team captain. He wasn't
head
even
of the
there.
team.
He wasn't at practice.
Wow.
We never saw him.
Wow.
He's always doing his own thing. And
Okay. So, and as you being on the team, how did that make you feel, the team captain?
I was like, oh, I think that was weird because in Washington,
The Washington
freshman
team was
year-
completely different situation. What an amazing group of guys in Washington.
I had our top 3 guys. 2 of them went to the same school, and they were good players.
So you
College
saw a good
players.
example of
they're-
leadership.
Yeah, and they're
and
good
also
players.
they took Logan under their wing. Like they
Okay, so
literally
they-
grabbed onto Logan.
And they coached Logan too.
Yeah,
then,
they
too.
and they didn't care that they were number 1, number 2, number 3,
Mhm.
and that
they
they
just wanted
were
to help.
going to go to college. They could have said, who cares about this freshman kid?
Right.
Totally took him under his wing. I think that was a very big moment for
and
Logan in
the
his development.
The funny thing is that my coach in freshman year in Washington, he during tryouts of my freshman year, he told our number 3, who was our senior, another senior, he was like, "You better watch out for this kid because he might come take your spot."
Oh, okay.
He told it like that on tryout. We just
Yeah.
had one day of tryout, and that's what he said to me, like not to me, but to our number 3. He was like, "You better watch out.
Uh-huh.
He's gonna take your spot."
Okay.
And you did
I-
take the number 3 spot a couple times.
Yeah, I was basically number 3 the whole year.
Yeah.
But it kind of felt good to hear that. At the end of the year, I didn't get to hear this until the end of the year.
Right.
But it was good to hear that from the start they saw something in me,
Yeah.
and I was like, it's a good feeling.
Well, and do you think, Logan, that maybe set something in your mind too, that don't take anything for granted? There could be the next Tiger Woods right behind you. You don't know that. There could be somebody else coming up and so just because you have rank or you have age or whatever, that doesn't mean you are guaranteed a spot.
No,
Right.
it just means that you have to keep working, and
and
you're
that
never
might
good
have
enough.
that might have helped the coaching too, because even if I get passed over and I'm not number 1 anymore, but I could still add value.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
and on that note, Logan's, I believe he can. I want you to talk more about this, but even though he's going to be playing college golf, and we live in the same neighborhood where his high school is, and he actually works at the golf course that's his home golf course for the high school team, you're going to go back and help the kids, right?
Yeah.
Just on your own and volunteer.
Yeah, I've already told my coach I'm coming back for practices.
Yeah, he already contacted the
Yeah.
coach and said, I want to be a part of the team.
Yeah.
Because I still got friends
Go ahead.
on the team, and
Yeah.
I just I've always helped them, and they text me all the time, just randomly. They're like, "Oh, what's going on? I'm
Yeah.
slicing or whatever." I'm like,
Yeah, what am I doing wrong?
"Okay, send me a video, and I'll tell them tips or whatever, and I'll be out." Obviously, there's some stuff you have to do in person,
Okay.
but it feels good to have people call you and be like, "Hey, what's up? What's going
Yeah.
on? I don't know what's going on."
Yeah.
Yeah. Being a subject matter expert also helps in
Yeah.
leadership. Relationships, sounds like community too, that
Yeah.
you really wanted to help people.
Yeah.
If they were strangers, maybe you'd still maybe help them, but probably because of community, you really want to help the people that
Yeah.
you built.
The
this
people I
strong-
know, if they ever need help, I always want them to call or text me.
Now, Joswell, the parents who have kids who are interested in golf or might be interested in golf, did you guys enroll in classes or lessons, or you kind of just did it by yourself, self-taught?
Well, so I got lessons when I first started playing, but then I've always been kind of good at sports and picking up concepts or whatever. And so to me, once you've been taught or whatever, you know the mechanics, you know why this does that or why this is that, you can kind of catch on to trends and stuff like that. And so then you could see certain things like gripping a different way or swinging the wrong way. And Logan helps me now too. Like he'll see, hey, you're kind of coming over the top or something. That's why that ball did that, even though it doesn't feel it, because it's hard to coach yourself.
Feel is
'cause you
different
can't-
than
you can't
sight.
see it yourself,
Exactly.
right? You can't see, so having another set of eyes. But yeah, I mean, we didn't go into any classes. We didn't do any, because I really didn't want to get somebody to get into his head too much. I mean, it's probably maybe the wrong way to go about it, but I thought, letting him figure it out and letting him, get results. And then it's kind of I think Jack Nicklaus was like, hit it as hard as you can. We'll figure it out straight later. And so I just wanted him to,
Interesting. So
you know what I mean?
Besides maybe taught him the basics, you didn't want
Yeah.
anybody to ruin his swing. You'd rather him try it and then he would learn on his own.
That way he could self-diagnose or he could,
Self-diagnose. Interesting.
yeah,
and
exactly.
later figure out myself.
Yeah,
what's going
and
on.
now the great thing is when he gets into a situation where he gets a coach, or if he, with the school, if they get him on a track man or whatever, they're looking at different trends or spin rates and all that good stuff. He understands the concept and why it's happening, and so he can easily he's infinitely more coachable now because he got to where he is
Right.
through
Really
that.
self-taught.
Yeah, I was not.
Yeah,
I was not coachable for
So-
the longest time.
So what do you mean not coachable for the longest time? When you say when you got into high school, you then had a coach, or when did you have a coach to be looking
Well,
at your swing?
My dad's always been the coach.
Okay.
I've never considered like in Washington, my golf coach was the football coach,
Okay.
and I've never had a.
And he was an awesome guy, but not
Yeah.
necessarily a golf coach.
He was a great guy, and he knew more than my coach in Arizona for sure.
Okay.
But I've never had a golf coach just for golf.
Okay.
I've only had wrestling coach who's
Part-time golf coach.
likes golf
Okay.
Right.
and doesn't know much about it, but
Okay.
he likes golf.
Okay.
And it's really, I've never really taken advice from anyone else but my dad.
I see.
Obviously, like YouTube videos, I watch people swing and
But the thing
like
is,
put that to myself.
I think
but-
the struggle in like going through the different development stages and like how like one day like you're hitting it like, oh my gosh, I got it, and then it just completely goes away. I think that's where now, because he's gone through some of those struggles and got to where he's, when somebody says something now, he's like, okay, I'm listening because I thought I was doing it this, you know what I mean? I just think that the coachability now factor goes way up. So if a little tweak is given or something's pointed out, he'll take and run with it, and you can see it like immediately. You know, whereas back in the day, I'd be like, do this. He's like, I got it. Whatever. Typical kid stuff, right?
kid
But
stuff,
now,
yeah.
because he's like, oh, wait, okay, so dad's doing this, and then he says to do that. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, and
And
so
then
now when the coach does
results.
that, or a coach was to come along, or if he was getting lessons right now, he would probably do 10 times better just from what he's learned so far.
Yeah, walk me through that, Logan. So what changed your mind from being uncoachable to coachable?
I think it was mostly just growing up.
Okay.
I thought when I was a kid, you think you know everything
Sure.
when you're a kid, and
I mean, you still are a kid.
yeah, well, not really, but come on.
Okay.
But as a kid, you think you know everything,
Right.
and you think you're doing it on your own.
Uh-huh.
But it's a big difference when you get older
Yeah.
and grow up.
Okay. And
It's a big difference.
so what age were you when you just had that mind shift to listen
I think
to
it was about when I got to high school.
when you got to high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Well,
in
right.
high school, you have to listen, like, it's for just for school.
Okay.
You have to listen to your teachers, do what you're told,
Mhm.
and follow directions and stuff like that.
Right.
And golf, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think in my opinion, I think it really became much more clear when he left, when we got down to Arizona and he was on the team. He saw that shining example of what not to do, right? Like
Yeah.
we talk about the fact that like we get examples of bad leadership,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that makes us learn from bad leaders to not want to be that way.
Yeah.
I think by Logan seeing the example of the number one guy who's supposed to be leading the team
Right.
not being good,
Yep.
and him like seeing that he can help other people, I think that's where the coachability came. Like once he started being the coach, I think that opened up the wavelengths of brain.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd agree to that.
Okay. So then walk me through this, Logan. Like, how do you know who to listen to in terms of coach? You know, you talk about coachability, but how do you know what is good advice coaching, which is bad advice coaching?
Well, really, for me, it's now I have my own feel, and I hear certain things, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Or some things, I'm like, oh, that doesn't make any
Based
sense.
on the foundation you've had in your
yeah,
experience.
and what I've seen and learned from even watching professionals,
Mhm.
and mostly what Dad tells me, I try to do it because I know he knows a lot of stuff about golf. So it's really all depends on if I try it, and if it works,
See.
then I'll take that advice. Or if I don't use it, then
Yeah.
if it
couple
doesn't
of things
work.
I'm thinking here too is that one, you've had history with your dad, so you know through history and experience that he has good advice.
Yeah.
If you have somebody new who's giving you advice, you'll try it, but if it doesn't seem to work, or
Yeah.
if it's against the foundations, the fundamentals that you know,
Yeah.
then you
Right.
know that that's not somebody.
Yeah,
to
somebody
listen
comes in and all of a sudden wants to turn it backwards and upside down. Guess what? He's like, yeah, I'm not going to buy into
Yeah.
that. I'm
Right.
good. You know,
Right.
just
Right.
because I want to keep improving, you
to.
know. And I think that's the real thing too, because he generally wants to improve. I mean, Logan's really close. He could be elite. You know, he's awesome. He's very good. But he could be elite with just, you know, a little bit more discipline, which I know we've talked about, nutrition, which we've talked about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think we have a newfound, wanting to, improve with the weight training and stuff like that, that him and I are going to be able to do. And so I think that's going to help overall as well.
Yep, and that's
And-
my next question. Was I know,
yeah.
it's, what other things that help your golf game? Like I heard Tiger Woods, and you just said weight training and stuff like. How do you determine things that would maybe focus on your sport, or maybe things that might hinder it? Like, how do you know what to do?
It's not really like, it's just kind of like lifting weights. It's
Okay.
you want to.
Strength is always a good.
Yeah.
Strength is always an advantage. You know,
The
and
more strength you have, the
flexibility.
farther it'll go. Like usually for most people.
I've
And-
heard though people say though that. Oh, go ahead and finish what you're saying though.
It's for me. It's just growing strength for
Yeah.
sure. It's doing all the major weightlifting
Okay.
and
And flexibility and balance.
flexibility and balance. That's the big parts of golf.
I've heard people being afraid to grow muscle though because it affects flexibility and stuff. So how do you know what's might be a danger or risk?
I think that's like a one of those old wives' tales or whatever.
Mhm.
Because you look at someone like Tiger, you look at someone like Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah.
I mean, he's extreme, but
Extreme.
or Brooks Koepka. They look like linebackers. They look like golfers. But the thing is that because of how nutrition has changed,
Mm-hmm.
training has changed. I mean, you, for example, you do your CrossFit.
Mhm.
There's different avenues, different ways people can be in shape, or actually having usable strength, right? Like because you're doing functional exercises. I mean, there's different exercises you can do for golf or whatever. But strength is never a bad thing,
No.
as long as you're, flexible and you're taking care of yourself. So I think if you notice, I mean, there's you see people on tour, most of them are massive. Like if you don't look like it because you're only 150 pounds. It's hard to tell if you're big,
Yeah.
And James, you're a small guy, but you're big.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So with your gymnastics background, that kind of thing. So, and then you just have a love for weight training,
Mhm.
but you're flexible. You can do things, right? You could play golf, right? So if you see
You'd
some of
probably
these,
actually be really good at golf. Actually.
yeah, and like so some of these guys like the Justin Thomases of the world that are tiny just have this freakish like inherent ability to be quick or whatever. But then you have people like Rory McIlroy, who built like a brick house. Like I mean, he's massive, but he's a little guy. And so I think the trend is definitely to get better and to be an athlete, and you have to actually be an athlete overall.
Right.
And so I think there's a huge trend where, he's not going to come in here looking like Arnold,
Mm-hmm.
Schwarzenegger, not
Right.
Palmer,
I hope not.
but he definitely is going to get more strength and flexibility, and that way he can get the positions he wants to get to hit the shots that he wants to hit when he needs to hit them.
Well, for sure, the big thing about like Justin Thomas, he looks like a small guy, but if you watch his workout
Yeah,
routine,
it's insane.
it's insane.
Yeah, so it's still
it's-
strength, even though it's
yeah.
not bulk, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and so let me ask them. You kind of self-taught in terms of golf. Is weight training also self-taught, or do you guys find a coach or a trainer to help you with this?
I mean, I was a trainer, so
Okay, so it's all based on your experience, but you
Yeah.
also had when you were coached before. Then that's how you gained experience, or did you learn on your own?
the weight training I learned on my own, and then became a trainer. I did a little bit of training and worked at a gym,
Mhm.
and so I learned that way.
Okay.
And for golf, like I said, I had a couple lessons, but then it was watching and learning through trial and error.
Yeah.
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 That's a unique skill to learn on your own, actually, and not being just taught.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people
It's-
are used to
yeah.
classroom taught. Go ahead, Logan.
It's a sport that you have to get your grasp of. Like
Mhm.
if you find out your way to do it and it's right for you,
Mm-hmm.
you got to go on that, and you can't let anyone else. Obviously, you can take like tips,
Yeah.
but you don't want to go away from what you're doing and that's working for you.
Right. Exactly. Well, Josh, you mentioned nutrition, and we know you're a big carnivore advocate.
Mm-hmm.
Logan, how do you take care of yourself, and what is your nutrition like?
I am trying to do keto stuff like that,
Okay.
Yeah.
but as a kid,
Yeah.
it's
kids-
tough.
Yeah,
Right.
it's tough. But I definitely when I get into college, I'm gonna try to stay down and I'm doing strict keto.
Okay. Tell me why it's tough, and Josh, go ahead. You were going to say something?
No, go ahead. No,
yeah. Tell me
like
why keto is tough, and why did you decide to do
Uh,
keto
it's
versus all
just-
the other ones?
It's just
Why not
because
carnivore like your father?
yeah, I've seen him do keto,
Okay.
and he's lost a lot of weight, and I did keto for a while,
and got really small,
especially from
which was good.
in quarantine.
Okay.
That helped a lot because we couldn't go out with
Right.
friends or eat out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So at home, it's whatever you have at home,
Okay.
and he was doing a lot of that, and it was
Okay.
helping a lot.
Okay.
But since getting back out of quarantine,
Hanging out with friends,
hanging out with friends and
and
stuff.
bad
they
habits.
they have bad habits.
Yeah,
as well.
it's a little harder to do,
Mm-hmm.
but for sure I've seen it works.
Yeah.
And it's all about self discipline. That's what.
Yeah, he'll be at fighting weight for sure when it comes to starting his first year of golf at college.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I
College when people
I
turn
think
it on.
Being here and seeing our podcasting and
Mhm.
then the people are around, and you're sitting in this gymnasium that we're in right now, which is Ryan's garage, right? That we're doing the podcasting in.
Our secret's out. Don't
Right.
let them know.
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to not want to improve yourself.
Yeah.
And there's nothing negative. Now, one thing I wanted to ask, and we can wrap up like in this direction. So Logan, it's pretty obvious you want to be a professional golfer.
Yeah.
But where do you see yourself if okay, so the tour doesn't call or whatever? Do you see yourself having a future with golf and or coaching or leadership? Like, have you thought about that at all as you know? Go that
I've
direction?
definitely thought of being not a professional golfer, but a professional,
Right,
which
a
is
golf
a
professional.
swing coach / helping people.
Right.
And that's a big thing for me. And I would love to do that if professional golf doesn't happen.
Right.
But another thing would be like what they do at PXG is they have swing people and they fit you for the clubs.
Right.
And I would like to do that too because I know a lot about certain golf clubs and which ones are good for each people.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
like
why things do the way they do.
and so why certain things happen. And if either one of those, if I don't get into pro golf, is definitely something I would like to do.
Because then you're still being able to coach.
It's still
you're helping
golf.
people, right?
Yeah.
And
And something that I love. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, I still have so many questions, but maybe
Go
we
ahead.
could do.
No.
Well,
Let's ask a
we-
couple more questions. I'm fine with it.
One of my questions I have is, how do you determine like having your dad as a coach and then as a father? How do you distinguish having, having a father figure versus a coach? Sometimes, how do you make the difference when it's at home? You have to obey him or some things that maybe you don't agree with him versus a coach, he knows what he's doing in golf. Like, how do you determine that?
It's really the same. I don't really see a big difference.
Wait, and that goes back to, sorry to interrupt, but that goes back to what you were talking about, how like when you're a kid, you think you know it all.
Yeah.
So obviously those are parallel lines, right? So if you're coaching on the golf course, or you're coaching at home, there's that same, like, I don't know what I'm doing, blah, 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 don't get in my face.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? That light turned on that, okay, there's a reason why dad says don't run with a knife or don't,
Yeah.
There's a reason why they say I can't have that certain thing at that certain point in time.
Yeah.
There's a reason for it. Just like, and so I think, having that dynamic and having that, I think that helped overall
Yeah.
because there was it's just, okay, he's the coach at home and the coach on the golf course,
Okay.
He's also a coach at work, right? So dad goes to work and he's leading people,
Mm-hmm.
So there's maybe some trickle down effect of, okay, so he can run this business. So he probably knows I should eat, this, or I should, do my homework or et cetera, those kind of things. So
It definitely doesn't feel different.
Okay.
It feels about the same because
So in all areas, whether it's coaching or at home, you still
Yeah.
feel like there's an authority there.
Yeah.
There's a respect as a father, as a coach. He knows what he's doing. He knows what's best for me.
yeah.
Is there any time that you disagree with him?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
definitely times,
Right.
but like it's never big. It's
It's not the major
or at
issue.
the end of the day, you're like, oh, well, maybe that was right.
yeah, that happens a lot. Most like about 90% of the time, it's like
Okay.
at the end of the day, I'm like, oh yeah,
I mean, I
he
can be
was
wrong.
100%
I'm not,
right.
I'm not perfect, obviously.
But there's history there that says, hey, most of the stuff, the decisions that my dad has made has been best for me in the
Yeah.
right direction. And so there's trust as well.
Yeah.
So and I think that's
A lot of
pleasant in
it.
leadership too. You get a new leader in there and then they talk something and then you don't know if you can trust them until they have a history of being trustworthy.
Yeah.
It definitely takes time, and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we're about on the same team because we usually can if I'm doing something wrong and he says, oh, do this, and I'm like, no, that doesn't sound right.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, I'm like, oh yeah, that was right.
Okay.
Or it's the other way around. We're
Yeah.
usually ending up
Yeah.
like saying the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
And then, Josh, how's your role changed as a father coach from 2 years old now to 16, 17 as he goes further progressed? Have you seen it change, or is it still the same?
I think it's probably more. So at a young age, it was not so much coaching. It was just more about having fun and
Mhm.
embracing the fun and,
Yeah.
and nurturing a love for a sport.
Did you place
Which is
demands
very-
on him? Go ahead, Logan.
It's very important.
Fair enough.
Like
the love
learning
part
the
of it.
love of
Yeah.
the game. It's
Right.
not.
No
About
demands
perfect.
ever.
You weren't placing your expectations on him, like,
Nothing.
because their parents are like the Tiger moms or
Nope.
somebody who's like, hey, you
Yeah.
got to.
There's
Okay.
never an expectation. If
Okay.
he shot 150 every single time he played, but he loved it,
Mm-hmm.
That's a good
and
thing.
I always said that to my daughter. Same thing. It's like if you do your best effort and you get an F on a report, you did your best. If you actually truly said you did your best, that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the number one thing. It's like do the best you can, and if that's what you get, that's what you come up with. That's fine. And so, really no expectations until further on when all of a sudden he's doing really really good. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well now we know you can do way better. So the secret's out, buddy. So if you play like crap, then what'd you do wrong?
Yeah.
So expectations came later after like he was actually he built the expectation level.
Mm-hmm.
And he also, leaned on me about like wanting to get better or whatever like that. So
Right.
if he doesn't play very well, we'll kind of do a post stop, and kind of figure out what's going on.
Okay.
And,
Do that
a lot of
all
it's
the
like,
time.
course management stuff that he's now understanding is a very important thing.
Mhm.
Cause you can be a so golfer and manage your way around a course and shoot
be
really good
really
scores.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
It's
you can be
all
the best golfer in
management.
the world and not know what you're like, not know what ball to hit, like what shot to hit or whatever,
Mhm.
and take risks that you shouldn't take
Mhm.
and play and have a really horrible score.
Yeah.
And even though you're a better golfer,
So did that expectation change? I'm guessing around high school then, or was that before then? When high school,
High
when,
school.
when he
Yeah.
got in the varsity, he's like, "Well,
High
this
school,
is."
for
It
sure.
wasn't based on, I'm guessing, his score, but also mostly he got in the varsity team, and
Yeah.
high school was probably the top.
and I think the expectation level changed because his expectations got better.
He got more into
right.
it. More.
He got a
effort.
taste of doing really well.
Yep.
And so then he wanted to keep continuing. that
I
process.
think I have more expectation than he does.
Yeah,
for me.
especially
Right.
for yourself
Because
because
I
you've done
want
well.
I want the best of the best.
Sure.
But he's seeing that I'm wanting that,
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't want to add on to that.
I see. So you
Kinda
feel like he's got enough of his expectation on himself. You're
Right.
kinda-
And if he like I said, if he never did anything with it or did, it's not like I'm not going to love him or not going to care. You know what I mean? So if it's something he truly wants and loves to do, then I'm going to help him as much as I can. And,
Yep.
I think that's just that's coaching and leadership, right? Like you have to give enough, rope to hang yourself with, but then also know how to, you know what I mean? Like you have
give
to,
enough attention, freedom. So I would
let
say
him fail, but also be there to
to support even
Yeah.
if he does or fail. So I'm saying in the beginning though, were you more directive in trying to ignite that passion, or he tagged along as a father?
Just come hang out with me.
Yeah, come hang out.
It was
and-
a father-son time.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
thing.
Yeah, and then it became a passion and a real skill at high school when you said, "Okay, you
Yeah.
got a top level."
yeah.
And then,
Like even now, like I'm even more critical on myself than
Mm.
he is on me, because
Yeah.
I'll have like a round and I'll shoot good, but then I like hit it really bad. Like I got lucky or sometimes or
Mhm.
just
But I'll bring him back to reality. Like,
Yeah.
you actually did really good, so don't be so hard on yourself, or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, there's
'Cause-
little things you could have done. Like, he played in state last 2 years.
Mhm.
He qualified for state, and I think he probably could have been in the top 10 easily if he would have had a coach or like if
Course
he could have a
management.
caddy or something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
just-
that's what the pros have.
Right,
and
just
that
to make the
helps.
decisions, like to help make those decisions, because you're an 18-year-old kid and you're out there, you put this pressure on yourself and you're trying to do that, and you'll try to do shots because you think you should hit them because you see them on TV or whatever.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the
And
miracle shots that you
Yeah.
don't need to do.
the hero shot it's great if it turns off, right? It turns out right, but if
But then
if
it
it
ends up
doesn't,
bad.
then it's way worse.
Yeah.
So,
It's the benefit is way worse than it is
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
Josh, you find yourself then more being encouraging for his passion, or also being more like critical and reviewing? Like, where do you find most your percentage of what you have to do in terms of helping him along this?
I think just it's more of a nurturing phase more than anything now. Like I just try to set it, like lower his expectations sometimes. Like if he's hypercritical of himself, because
Mhm.
you don't need to be in that mind space, because you're not going to be able to be coachable. You're not
Right.
going to be able. I mean, if you're throwing clubs around, if you're throwing temper tantrums, you're definitely not going to be coachable, and you're also not a leader, right? You're not showing to
You're
your
showing
team. You're showing
weakness,
really,
kind of.
yeah, it's terrible. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like you hit the shot, that shot's now over as soon as you take a step.
Right.
If that never happened.
golf is a very
Yeah.
mind game.
Yeah, it's a huge mind game. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
that shot is over. You can't go back in the
Yeah.
past and do anything about
You-
it. So
you
go hit
have
the
to-
next one.
Right.
What's that word? I can't remember that.
Short-term memory,
Well,
right?
that, but like
Amnesia.
amnesia.
There
You
you
just
go.
have to have you have to have an
and not worry
amnesia.
about the past. You have
Yeah,
only
as
focus
soon
on
as
the
you take a
present
step,
time.
that shot
Yeah,
never
it's over.
It never existed. There's
Like,
nothing you
obviously,
can do about it.
in the moment you can be like, dang, that was terrible. Like you can also be like, oh, that was terrible. But then once you start walking to your next shot, your mind is already on the next shot.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that could be the best shot of your life.
Yeah.
But if you continue to let that negativity seep in, there's a very low chance that that's going to be a better shot,
Yeah.
because it's going to get worse, and then it's going to get worse, and it's a self-fulfilling
Yeah.
prophecy at that point.
Right. Yeah. Now, going off that line, playing golf, do you feel like that the skills that you learn from golf also translate to other areas in life, or do you feel like it's
Yeah.
mostly on skills? Or if there are, what would they be?
Yeah, a little. It's not a lot because golf is a very individual sport. You don't want to
Mm-hmm.
show too much.
But
Obviously.
the coaching side of it,
Yeah, the
Yeah.
coaching side for sure. Definitely leadership. And it got me more into talking to more people because when I was a kid, way younger, I was very shy.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I've been into golf and I've been coaching, shows that I don't need to be so shy.
Mm-hmm.
I can talk to other people, and it's not as scary as it
Yeah.
looks. And
Yeah.
that definitely has helped a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Because
Josh,
I was really shy when I was a kid. Yeah, I didn't talk to anyone.
That's true.
and Josh, as a father, though, you see him playing golf. Do you feel like he's translated it to other places? And,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
like the coaching aspect, like
Yep.
the caring, like
Mm.
he's one of those kids that like always wants to make sure everybody. And that's from a young age. He's always kind of had that like empathetic or caring part of him. Like he had a really good friend of his that was in a wheelchair, and Logan really never saw the wheelchair. Like he just cared about his friend and that kind of thing. And so he's always had that helpful side. Like he's always been kind in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think using what he's learned through golf, which sounds silly, but like and then helping other people, I think that just leads to having a person that if he does get in a leadership role at some point, later on in life, he'll be the kind of boss that's going to actually care about his people
Right.
and want to make sure that all aspects are taken care of and not just like, oh, we hit the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
So the kind of leadership that we're talking
kinda
about with
like
the SOAR group.
Them before me.
Right.
Kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly
Other
right.
people.
Yeah, and my observation, just knowing you just as quick, last hour. This is
Yeah.
actually the first time I actually got to know you, Logan. Right?
Yeah.
But just based on what you're telling me, even just the idea you said caring and coaching, it sounded like you became in a leadership position once you accepted responsibility to say, hey, I'm going to take care of these people. And automatically they're trying to mature you to say, oh, I got
Yeah.
more than
Yeah, for
just.
sure. Yeah.
The other idea is the idea of self-assessment, self-reflection, and
Yeah.
being to be able to self-improvement. That all came from golf that,
Yeah.
that you did on your own. The other idea as, what was the other ones I had?
Self-image is a big thing in golf.
And there was
too.
some confidence too,
It's-
like knowing
yeah.
your skill set and then being confident in your skill set and being able to use that as well.
Yeah,
So
but
you-
not being cocky.
Yeah.
It's a big thing. You
Being
don't wanna-
confident is not
yeah.
cocky.
No.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's not.
I mean, there was a perseverance and continue to learn the skill too. I mean, were there times you wanted to give up and did that?
Yeah, sometimes you want to give up
Mhm.
because you're playing like either you're playing bad or you're not feeling well or whatever. But I, for sure, if I'm ever playing really bad in a round, I for sure try to look back and see what I can work on. Because
Mhm.
if one thing's doing bad, there's going to be something else that's working.
Okay.
Because for me, at my stage of my game right now, there's something that's working.
Mm-hmm.
If something's bad, one thing's working. So I always pay attention to those things.
You look at the things that are
and then
working.
I'm looking at those other things and trying to fix those things.
Yep. Yeah.
But
Well-
it's really just focusing on the good, not the bad.
Right. Which is another leadership skill too,
Yeah.
is just to focus on the good too and not always get yourself in the bad. Don't worry about the past. They can't do anything about the past. You can't change the past, but you can focus on the present. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of things that maybe you guys might be apparent, not be apparent to you, but it's definitely apparent to me to say, oh, wow, there's a lot of life skills here that's going
Yeah.
on.
And
Right.
golf is I think people need to get more into it. A lot of people think it's like an old person sport.
Mm.
It's a game that you can play forever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about playing well.
Mhm.
It's about people and playing with other people.
Right.
And it's a
Being
great
with
skill.
friends, being with family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a fun thing to do. And even though you may be terrible at it,
Mm-hmm.
you should have to find the fun
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and to have fun with other people.
Yeah.
And you get to be outside, which is a whole other topic, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of benefits
Sun,
there.
like rays of sun. It's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Being outside.
And then, Josh, has there been a point where Logan came to you and said, "I want to give up" and stuff like that, or he's always kind of kept it to himself and pushed
He's
through?
never.
I don't think.
No, even the worst or frustrated. I mean, he's always been like, let's go get it today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, happy go lucky, really. But do something goofy or do a weird trick shot or something and get his mind off of whatever, and then right back
Yeah.
to day one.
Yeah.
No big deal.
And I've learned that if I do something like if I'm practicing before like a tournament, I do something goofy or not smart
Mhm.
and takes my mind off the tournament, and then I go to the tournament and play well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've learned that if I do something like that, I end up playing well.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's definitely good. You just want to take your mind off it and just know you're just out there to have fun.
Yeah. Once again, I feel like another life skill that you've learned in golf that you can apply in actually
Yeah.
so many areas in your life.
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. So,
It's a good feeling.
are you entering college then next year? Is
Yeah.
that okay?
I'm entering college
This
in
fall?
this
Fall.
the next 2
Where-
months or whatever.
Can you say where you're going, or is
Yeah.
that against
Yeah, I'm going
secret?
to Estrella Mountain Community College.
Yeah. Junior college in
junior
Phoenix
college.
area.
Yeah.
Okay. And then have you decided what you're going to study? You're going to major? or-
Done to do business.
Okay. And why?
Standard business. Because my dad's in business.
Okay.
He's sales, and a
Ish.
business is very important,
Mhm.
especially like with my leadership skills. I want to.
Right.
If I ever don't go into anything golf, business would be a big thing for me,
Mhm.
and being a leader in business would be
Yeah.
good.
Right. And then using like your coaching skills to then move into management
Yeah.
probably pretty rapidly. Having that behind you, that's good. And if you stay in a golf realm, then the business side of it will help them running golf course or whatever else.
Yeah,
there's
numbers
lots of good things that go along with that.
Yeah, I think you guys mentioned that you're also doing a part-time job, a full-time job at a shop.
I
What was your
work
decision?
at a golf course.
Okay, what do you do there, and why did you decide to do that?
It really helped when they said free golf. That's for sure.
Okay, that's okay.
That helped
So
a lot.
That is a big help.
But I am the outside service guy, so I talk to people.
Right.
I see when their tee time is, and I help them get on their cart and let them know where to go.
Takes care of the cards.
Yeah, and I clean the carts, all that, and get fix the range and stuff.
Okay.
And so definitely that helped me also get out of my own shell. Talking to people.
Yeah.
And every day I have to talk to people every day. I can't just be in a shell by myself. Especially during the summer, we're alone.
Uh-huh.
We don't have anyone else working with us.
Yeah.
So you have to be talkative, and people like that. And
Yeah.
especially when you go to a golf course and you see a happy face or a confident person, you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
This
is a good place.
It goes to that comfortability thing, right? We're all too comfortable. Well, he was very comfortable, just playing video games or sitting at home and not being outward or not being extroverted or whatever.
Right.
Very introverted. But then he'd come, a couple things he's done this year that have changed quite a bit. He comes and helps me host karaoke or whatever. So he'll come and sit at the board and talk to people, complete strangers, put in their songs, have no problem doing that.
Yeah.
Not on the microphone yet, but I think this might change.
Yeah, this
You
might
never
help
know.
a little.
So there's that. And then number two is at the golf course, you can't not talk to people.
Right.
It'd be very awkward when people are coming up and talking to you and you're just
right.
Yeah.
And so I think those
I'd
two
probably get
things
fired
really,
pretty quickly.
I think those things really helped. And then, I think that's definitely paved the way to understand that all these things we've talked about are done. There's a reason for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a method to the madness. And even if you didn't agree with it at some points in time, it's pretty obvious that there was a goal, right?
Yep.
To be a good person, to be a good leader, to be empathetic, be sympathetic, all those things. So,
It also does help when you're working at a place that you like the sport you love.
Yeah, that's help. Yeah,
And
that's
you're
help,
like,
right?
oh,
Makes
these
it
pretty
people
easy.
also love it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's easy to help.
It's a good
Sure.
Start
icebreaker.
talking to people.
Yeah.
So Josh, what do you say to people who have young kids and they want them to get into a sport? What advice would you give them to determine what sport that is or what to do with, and when to start? 2 years old, 3 years. What some advice you want to give some people?
Just have fun with it. If there's something that you're passionate about and you love to do, then do that with your kids. That's if you, we're all in the rat race. We're out there working and way too many hours most of the time. When you have that time with your kids or whatever, do something fun together. And if they love it, then continue to nurture that. And if they hate it, then find something else. But don't have it in your own. I mean, it shouldn't be your choice, right? It should be their choice.
Right.
And
that's a big point, though.
Yeah.
It's their choice. It's not necessarily our choice.
You
Something
can,
they love.
I mean,
Be
I know
that.
it worked for Tiger Woods' dad. I know it worked for the Williams sisters, right?
Mhm.
You're going to do this or else, right?
Right.
But I mean, I think kids will do what they want to do, and you should just, and if it's not, as long as it's not something negative, it's something that's going to build character or be good for them, then just support it, and that's it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Find something you love and keep doing it.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what I think.
my question to you, Logan. Is let's say you got someone your age who hasn't done golf or any sport. What advice would you tell them to get into golf or how to get into their interest in it?
I would definitely try it.
Okay,
And
just to try
if you
themselves.
like it,
Mhm.
keep doing it.
Yeah, your good
Yes.
friend Jackson, right?
Yeah.
We get him. He goes out and he's a baseball player, pretty good.
Yeah,
He's a good
a good
athlete,
player,
and he's a lot of fun. And Logan and him are best friends, and
Mhm.
he'll come out with us. He'll hit a tee shot. If it doesn't go right, no big deal. We'll
Hey,
go to the next shot, do it
goes
again,
next.
do something else. He doesn't get over the grind. It doesn't get into the nitty gritty. But I think now that he's moved down to Arizona now, and he's moving into being an adult as well. That could change, and
Yeah,
that
he
could be
wants
somewhere
to be
Logan
more
and
into it.
Logan and Jackson go out and Saturdays are for the boys kind of thing, and they go out and have fun and play golf. And have that and grow the next generation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So.
he definitely doesn't know the
Fundamentals.
fundamentals,
Right.
but
But he has fun.
yeah,
and
he has
that's all that
fun,
matters.
and that's the only thing that I think is important, is that finding friends to go out with you and have fun.
Yeah.
That's the key. Is
Yeah.
have fun. It's not playing perfectly.
Yep.
Have fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's huge. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Any other thoughts you guys want to give? I've learned a lot just about you and your relationships and your
Yeah.
thought process. Anything you guys think anyone
think
can
so.
benefit from this, being a
No,
father?
just make sure if you find that thing you love, keep doing it and
Cool.
have
Yeah.
as much for fun as you can.
And if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So
Awesome.
That's
And,
what you got to do with your whole life.
and I'm going to extend the invitation, like perhaps in the future, like we did with Sophie, is that maybe in a couple of years we come back and check in with you and
Yeah,
see where you
for sure.
progressed and see what happened and see what you've taken some of this principles and skill set to use and you know what's going on.
See how it goes.
Or maybe he'll be a full-time employee at SOAR, being our
Who knows?
social manager. You never know. So
Yeah.
we'll maybe get him on there more often.
Who knows what's going to happen?
Who knows
We
in the
can't
future?
tell the future.
Exactly. So, and with that, we appreciate you guys taking your time. And, you know, we'll find out in the next episode
Yeah.
more about you
Yeah.
guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thanks.
you.